I'm Toby Kebbell and welcome to A Life in Film.
This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story?
You shut it, or I will do you myself, you poisonous little toad. Don't hurt me, Arch. I'm only little.
Our guest today is a BAFTA Nominated Actor whose big break came with Shane Meadows' Dead Man's Shoes. He's since worked with the best, including Oliver Stone, Steven Spielberg, Woody Allen and Guy Richie, just to name a few. But he insists that he doesn't want to be a leading man. We chat about going from problem child to driving a Ferrari through Times Square, what to do when the phone stops ringing after 2 blockbuster flops, his latest movie, Salvable, with Shia LaBeouf, and why it's all about putting in the effort. Our guest today is actor Toby Kebbell. My podcast is usually about asking people how they found that passion. So being an actor, where did that love of performance come from? Were you a child when you kind of knew that you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, I got lucky. The first thing that happened to me was at secondary school, which, as you know, you go from primary school to secondary school. You go from the eldest kid in school to the youngest. And there's beards about, there's dudes with beards. And you're like, oh, what's going on here? I had an amazing teacher called Ray Dix, who's no longer with us, sadly. Ray passed away. Now, Ray was the first person to show me that there's a job for show-offs. But the way he phrased it was, he said, there's a job for people like you. And I went, yeah, digging ditches. I got it, sir. And he went, no. Attention seeking. There's a job for that. Like, I was so cut down. I was like, what's going on here? Anyway, he said, if I get you out of this detention, you have to promise you will turn up and do exactly what I say. And I was like, yeah, thinking he's going to have me get books down from some dusty old shelf in the back of, the theatre. And he took me over and all of the prettiest sixth form girls are sitting cross-legged in the theatre. And I walk in and I'm standing behind him. I'm like, what are we doing in here? And he hands me a piece of paper and says, can you read this out loud for me? And I have dyslexia, but dyslexia is a modern diagnosis. So I just was an idiot who couldn't read. So I was reading. I was like, so what do you want me to do? He's like, you read this part here. So anytime it says this name, the highlighted bit, you read the words underneath. So I'm buying time to read these words. Anyway, so I read them out and he starts saying the other person's lines. So I'm like, okay. So he reads those lines. I read the other lines. I say one of the words wrong and all the girls laugh, mate. I went bright red. I feel like shrinking. I'm like, what is going on here? What's this? Talk. This is worse. I'll go back to the detention. And basically I did the thing. He chastised all the girls. He said, we don't laugh at someone else's effort. And he was the first person who taught me about effort in acting. That really, if you make it work and you make it a job. Now, bear in mind, he's talking to a delinquent, and I'm a poor kid who doesn't really talk about being poor. I don't find it cool. I don't think anyone who's actually poor is not going on chat shows to tell you that they used to sleep on benches and all kinds of nonsense. Because if you're poor, it's the worst. It's absolutely miserable. You're wearing plimsolls, people are wearing Reeboks and Nikes. You've got a pair of shorts at the free bin. Everyone else is wearing the cool business. It's not cool. Nobody wants to be poor. But now it's become fashionable to be poor and talk like that to get me and talk all that like a... Well, when you were poor, when I was poor, it was not the cool thing. I wish it had been, but it was not. And anyone from the Grove will tell you I was the poorest kid in school. I had free school meals. And why make free school meals stand in their own line? Why?
No, really? Oh,
yeah, just put us in with everyone else. We've already got the little ticket. Why are you making us stand in our own line? Anyway.
That's awful.
Trauma. Anyway, so he took a delinquent and he taught me about effort. That really this isn't a job, that this is about how much effort you're willing to put in. And I know that's hard because there's a lot of people who have talent, who just will never get a break, who won't have that bit of luck because that really is genuinely real. And they'll be very talented, but those people should go and teach And there is a horrible misnomer of those who can't teach for quaffing knobheads who smoke, roll-ups outside the back of somewhere in East London. Those who can't do teach because they didn't have the success. Without Ray Dix, I would not have done it. And when he passed away, Jonathan Cleaver, and then Ian Smith. And without these mentors, Alison Rashley, without these people taking the time out of their day to put the effort into me, who I could never be. I don't know why they put the effort in. I kept it off and being like, oh, box, who gives a shit? It's wacky. This is stupid. It's all self-indulgent. But without that effort from those people, I never would have acted. And I love it. I love it more than anything. And it was just my brushing off was just my way of being like, I can't do it. And Ray Dix said to me, if you don't run the race, you can always tell people how fast you used to be. But if you don't bother and put the effort in, no one is going to know. And it's selfish if you have talent to keep it hidden away. And I will be deeply disappointed. And the fact that he got ill, selfishly, turn it into very typical actor, turn it into something for me, it boosted me forward because I thought, oh, Ray's sick. Now I watched Ray go on stage and forget his lines and have to get a cue off stage. And I was, that's embarrassing, huh? But he just was the man who showed you the effort. Every time he's putting in the effort. This is a man who teaches all day and then he's going on to a play. He's teaching unbelievable kids. Listen, if Carl Froch went to that school, it was not a school of the best, brightest, most happy to sit in a classroom children. It was rough as arseholes, as they say. There used to be a sign at the front of my school that said, beware the ramps, because we had those bumps going into the school. Someone put a T in front of ramps, and it was the most accurate sign for the school. Beware tramps. It just, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's really difficult to talk about this job without luck.
Yeah.
Because you do need somebody. I mean, I heard I heard what you did with Des. Well, I've never got a job through. But every time I got called for an audition, I just loved it. Because he's interested in you. He reminded me of Ray. He reminded me of all those guys who've struggled in life, still giving you their effort and energy. And they turn up on time and they're clean and fresh and tidy. And they're giving you everything you can get to try and do your performance for you to succeed. It's unbelievable. So auditions, the thing that really knocked auditions out, because I know a lot of actors struggle with auditions, is, man, it's effort, right? Learn your lines because they want to find somebody. And when you go in, recognize how much effort everyone's put in. It's all right that you're not going to blow them away, but always walk in there as if that is the day you're filming that scene. Don't ever walk in like it's an audition. It'll fuck with you every time because then you're testing yourself. You're being put to test. And that's not the job. The job is to go in and give them a performance like this is the scene that's being filmed today. That's the camera they're using. This is the costume. The director's there. These are the producers sitting behind the monitor. Just give it that effort and you will find a greater deal of success. It is a psychological game. Boxing's the same deal. And I learned that of every pro. They don't go in. It's not a joke when they're coming out smiling and dancing to things. I mean, unless you're Mike Tyson, who just come out to absolutely demonic music. It's like, I'm here to destroy you. They're not kidding. They're getting dressed up to be goofy because as soon as you make this serious, you're doing yourself a disservice. All you're doing is putting in effort. And I get that it's effort. And I know what it's like auditioning in London and anywhere, Manchester, traveling all the way down on the train to go and do something in Manchester. It's effort. You're putting in massive effort. So don't cheapen yourself by adding pointless nerves to it. You're always going to be nervous because you care. You care. Nerves just show you care. That's all they do.
Yeah, that really makes sense to me, actually, because you do psych yourself out.
Yeah.
I wonder, you mentioned being dyslexic. I'm dyslexic too. You know, it's that whole thing of learning lines can sometimes be difficult. You get the words mixed up. What is that like for, going into an audition? I feel like as long as I'm prepared and I know the lines backwards, I'm all right. But what have you had obviously that first experience at school with the the girls and having to read that? That's obviously pretty harrowing. But has it kind of pulled you back?
Beautiful, you know.
Emotional damage. But has it hindered you in any way, or have you found like coping mechanisms to kind of get around it?
Yeah, I mean, the point of it is you're not going in there to be you. And I think what's tough when I talk to younger actors on set, and they come and they go, I've got one line, and is if you live through measures, you're always putting a pressure on yourself that isn't necessary. Because there's an old story, there's definitely an English version, but there's an old story I heard in America from an actor who was talking about a baseball player who's in the major leagues, he's in the Yankees. He's comparing himself to how much Babe Ruth's being paid. Now, this man at the time is being paid like $150,000 for the year, which is, huge amounts of money, millions of dollars now. But let's say a Premier League football player who's making £12 million for a 5-year contract is comparing himself to David Beckham, who's getting 85 million, or whoever else. Age and how long since I've watched Premier League football, I'm talking about David Beckham. But you know what I mean? You're looking at anybody who's making more money. You're not going to be able, that yardstick is always going to make you feel less than. You live your life that way. And I said to this young man, I said, look, does it matter how many people? He said, yeah, oh man, that's what the whole thing's about. The whole thing's about how many people you get and the likes you post. Like, that's the deal. And he was fully into this kind of addiction. It felt like a gambler talking to a gambling addict, this like little addiction he had of like, yeah, man, I've got to get these and I'm doing this. And he's got plans. I thought, man, if he just quietly sat with those plans and made them for him rather than for these other people, for this measuring stick of the audience, of course you want the audience to enjoy it. And maybe that is how you become a big star. I don't get that element of it. But that's certainly not what I do this for. I do it for, like you said, like the dream of the actor's job. Like, oh, man, imagine getting to play that person. So the reason it's harrowing is who you are doesn't really matter anymore. So you have to live a rich life. You have to keep taking the train. You have to keep taking the underground and getting on the bus and walking, because all those people you see are absolutely food for your imagination. What is he doing over there? Look at the things on it. All those little bits you observe, that observing, if that goes away, you end up watching people do performances. You can't understand a word they're saying. And yet they're a star, and they're like stars, and they're more roids, and they've just got to be more. I've got to be more. It's like poison for character work. I'm a character actor, though. I've never, ever been after. There's a thing that's been brought up to me like, you're not a leading man. Does that mean you don't think you're handsome? I was like, handsome's got fuck all to do with it.
Yeah.
It's that those roles are boring. Yeah. I don't want to be the guy who saves you at the end of the day from a bomb. I don't have any interest in that. Cool films, I love it. Great, wicked, great to watch. But at no point do I go, oh, I wonder what it's like to save the world. That's never been my ponderance. So I don't know. I'm not here to be Superman. That's not my goal. Now, bear in mind, we'd all love to be Bond, wouldn't we? All love to be Bond, because it's not about that. He's just rough and ready. Like Bond has been so many different things. So I've got contradictions, but I won't get Bond because I'm not a leading man if that's the cycle of it. But that doesn't matter to me. That's not going to break my heart if I never get to do that. Because I'll always have these great things I've got to do. Like, I love Brad Pitt in his early 12 Monkeys.
Oh, man.
Decided to put just one of his contacts cockeyed. Brilliant. And yeah, other actors can be like, oh, it's a cheap trick. It's like, yeah, cool, but it works. Because what it's done is he showed observation. Like Jim Carrey, when in Me, Myself and Irene, where he lowers the gun. It's okay, Frankie, and he lowers the gun. And the guy blows his thumb off. The observation of pulling it in, like that little bit of pain, man. Fucking hell, it makes me cry. I mean, his observation is so
good.
Oh, mate.
Very good.
So it's that's what I enjoy. I enjoy the observation. I enjoy when I watch them and I go, oh, that's so good. How did you figure that out?
I love that. I love that as an observation, though, you picking that scene from Me, Myself and Irene, because that is so niche, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's brilliant.
Rewatch it, and it grabs you every time. His sucking up of pain as if it's a splinter when his thumb's been blown. It's just such like, I don't know. It's so clever. I can't figure it out. It's just so good. It's so good.
It's when you watch an actor do something as well that you're like, oh wow, I would have never. That was like so left field. Like, how do you even? And then that seems obvious now. I've seen it. That's the best thing he could have done, or she could have done.
Right.
Are there actors that when you were growing up that you kind of were like, oh man, I'd love to emulate that, or an actor you just simply looked up to?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons. It's endless. I mean, listen, ultimately what pans out over the years is I can't figure out how James Stewart did what he did, but there's something about his charisma. And of course, there's lots of, we're all allowed to voice our opinions now. So there's a lot of contest to what's being said. But James Stewart, when you watch him, there's a scene at the end of Harvey where he talks about how he kind of ended up in the predicament he's in. And if you shot it now, or that was a script you were given or a scene you were given, they'd do so many things to try and make it interesting. So you realize, is it that modern filmmaking's changed, or is it that because we lack that kind of ability to engage someone for that period of time just by talking, that's really what's missing? I don't know. I can't really figure it out, but I'm not entirely sure it's to blame on the way films are made now, because if somebody's charismatic, like James Stewart is, I don't know, man, I watch his movies and I'm like, fucking hell, he's so good. Harvey's my favourite film.
Oh wow.
And it became popular again for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but Harvey is just an excellent film. I mean, it was like Shawshank Redemption and Reservoir Dogs was for me. I could watch them anytime. Chop, watch it anytime. Happy or Sad, I could always watch them. But as I've got older, I think Harvey, because there's something I can't do. There's something about James Stewart, I can't figure out how he does it or what he's doing. But Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, like all those movies you watch and you go, he was just a person who became, do you know what I mean? He became James Stewart. He became like, of course, James Stewart. It was like, it wasn't that. At some point he figured something out, and what he figured out, I can't fathom. Just like the observation of it is like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
It's ultimate of how did he do that? Because he doesn't do anything flashy either. And I used to think the flashy, like the eye, the crooked eye and the big like weird accent was the one. But I realized with James Stewart, man, he holds your attention doing almost nothing. And Buster Keaton became a favorite of mine because you realize that Buster Keaton doesn't change his face.
Yeah, incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan and Charlie Chaplin are two people I love because of how takes burn you, as you know, but take 41, it burns you, man. You're just like, what is it? What are we doing? But they're doing something magical. But Jackie Chan and Charlie Chaplin, man, they use those for. Fincher's about the only one I know of who uses them like they do to make perfection happen. To watch something go.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like you say, Jackie Chan, like whenever you see a scene that he's done, like one of those action sequences in Rush Hour or whatever, and you're like, that has to be the first take because the energy level is like,
the energy level. Mate, go back and watch City Lights, Charlie Chaplin. There's a scene where he meets his turning drunk, first of all, is phenomenal. I've not seen better, even than Withnell and I. His turning drunk, where he like has 2 drinks, and you realise he's thinking about being starving, right? He's a starving homeless guy, all these things. When he goes into the restaurant with the guy he got drunk with, or he's like, let's go out, we're going out for a meal. And he gets there and he steps onto the marble floor and he slips. It seems slapstick, and for years I was watching, it's a slapstick thing. But I realised that when you have leather-soled shoes, if you're lucky enough to get a pair, and you walk in the rain and then step inside on a fancy floor, it's ice. And it's that little thing, and you realise that was take 30 whatever.
Yeah.
And he's slipping with the energy of take 1 as if it just occurred to him. Man.
Incredible.
Incredible. And that's the stuff where you think, that's why I adore it. But I never conceived I could do it. Never conceived it. And I got lucky. Really.
I love that you say that you know, it's luck, it's having someone that champions you or multiple people that champion you.
Multiple.
That's that's an incredible thing because a lot of people try and take all the, no, I just made it myself and I went and did this and I did that. But
Did you fuck? Especially on film, there's things you did. Like I started to realize that there's things the editors picked up that I didn't even know I'd done. On Dead Man's Shoes, when Shane showed me a cut, I was blown away. That's when I realized why Shane's genius is he's hours editing. For me, I can't watch it as goofy. I'm like, oh, this is terrible because what I thought I was doing. No, I know.
Brilliant.
But I still today can't comprehend what I thought I was doing inside was so meaningful and emotional. And sometimes I watch it and I'm like, why is he doing that? What have I done that for? But it's Shane. Without Shane, I mean, all the other people I've attributed got me to Shane. Without Shane, I wouldn't have learned what film was. I wouldn't have learned anything about the business element. Shane cared for me and nurtured me in the most fun way. Talk about mischievous. Shane is the greatest human you're ever lucky enough to hang out with. He's the funniest human being. His sense of humor, his left field stuff. When I first auditioned for Dead Man's Shoes, Shane was going to play Gary's role.
Oh, wow.
So I went to visit him in Matlock and we were doing the scene together. It was me and him. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought he was going to be amazing. I thought, wow, this guy's going to be fucking, because I was a fan. I see 24/7 and Room for Emio Brassman. When Paddy did Room for that voice, Bartley Gorman's voice, it turns out that he did Bartley Gorman, who's a gypsy, king of the gypsies, a gypsy fighter. And I learned a lot about this and from Shane's dad, who knew Bartley, and all these wonderful human beings, this very rich life. But it was Shane who taught me life's what matters, man. You have to get your life full. Don't shy away from life. Don't hide away, because I was a big hibernator. Oh, I'm going to hide away and focus on these lines, as I was saying with the effort. Your life has to be full. Your life has to be weird moments down the supermarket, weird moments at the chip shop, weird moments on the bus. And they're all the rich bits. So, yeah, man, without the champions, nowhere, done nothing. I'd have done amazing. You wouldn't have known how good I was. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, I'd have been one of them idiots. Down the malt shovel. It'd have been terrible.
Is there any truth in the fact that when you got Dead Man's Shoes, you only had like 3 days to sort of get the role right and learn the lines and stuff? Is that true?
My name on the call sheet was Stand By Kebbell. Because after day 10 of standing by, I fucking thought I'm not going to be in the movie.
Wow.
Now, it sounds like a slur or a downtreading of Paddy, and by no means do I mean it that way. If it comes across like that, I've got to adjust myself. Paddy was adamant that I shouldn't be in it. He's like, hell, Shane, it's going to be Sixth Sense in Nottingham. It's going to be shit, man. Now it's going to be the pants. What are we doing all that for? And I did one day with Paddy, and it was the greatest day, man. I had the best time ever, and he's brilliant. You know, Paddy's like English De Niro for many reasons, because he's very all-encompassing. He draws you in, and he's like, let's do this, man. Fucking hell, we're going to go down the record shop, and we'll just chat, and we'll just do this thing. Like, he'd learn the school of how to do the thing. But the thing that stays with me the most is when we're on the tyres and there's that very touching scene, he kept making me corpse, man. He did this thing where he said, who's that lad who had all, who was that lad who, when we was playing football? I said, oh, Michael. And he said, yeah, he had all that bonfire toffee around his arse. Oh, bonfire toffee. It's like, what the fuck? So that was the first time I was like, corpse. And I was like, sorry about that. And he said, yeah, he kept showing his arse, didn't he? And I thought, oh, nice, he's adjusted it, and we can have a laugh about it. So I did a little like chuckle. I was like, yeah, he did. Yeah, I had a fucking Mars bar motorway, and I don't know why the word Mars bar motorway.
What does that even? Yeah, like.
But it's that out of left field. You get the reference. So he's a funny human being.
That's hilarious.
And I had a blast. But I only got 1 day with him, yeah. And then I got 2 days with the lads, and that was only because we had to do the flashback stuff. And Shane was like, look, man, I've got to put a lot of effort into making them all look younger. Some of them are getting wigs, I've got to do a lot of stuff to try and get the guys looking as young as possible. So you just got to come in and let's figure out what happened on that day. Because when you're filming it, this is improv. So Shane's got a script to get the money, and then he's thrown it out the window. But with improv with Shane, he's got the plan. He knows what he's doing. He's got to start. He says, this is where we've got to start, and this is where we've got to try and end up. And if we can, let's try and get these bits in the middle. That's the beauty of Shane's improv. It's not just like, go on then, have a go. That's not improv. That's you making a mess. So Shane does really well with that. And so when we come in to do this thing, before that, we'd all been so like patting ourselves on the back of like, oh, you'll never see what really happens. I'd be so beautiful. And then Shane's just sitting there. He's up all night eating a biryani or whatever he's having. And he's like, oh man, we've got to shoot it. I was like, no, Shane. So how are we going to do that? He went, you're going to have to pretend to hang yourself, mate. We've got to figure out how the fuck you do it. And I was like, so what we doing? It was like, you just got to get bullied, mate, all day and find out how we get there, because we've got to get to that point. You got to see it.
Wow.
Because I've come up with an idea where I want Paddy to go back into the room where it happened with the geezer. And I said, now, so I'm just dreading it. And I'm on standby.
Just waiting.
Very sweetly, they called me Standby Kebbell. But I had a great time, man. It's all the people. It's, Lisa, who's the second, and, Griff, who's the first, and Danny, who was doing his first film, who's gone on to do mega stuff. But they're just like lovely human beings doing beautiful work. And yeah, again, luck. Luck. Someone said, hey, man, I've got this. And I didn't get that role. First, he was doing a movie about a bunch of street thugs, about guys who nicked cars. And Paddy was a vigilante, and he was going to come and like kill them all because they were messing around. And my character was with the woman who plays the last guy's wife, Jo Hartley. And I was going to play her like boyfriend. Like I was sleeping with this single mom, but I was a bit of a loud boy. And that's why I've got the tram lines in my hair, because that's how quick the change was. Shane changed that movie, and he went, look, man, I've done all the things that Equities asked me, where I've gone and I've auditioned the people with true disabilities. I can't find anyone. Do you think you could do that? And I was like, I don't know, man. I'll happily try, obviously. Because now I've got egg on my face. I've told everyone I'm in this Shane Meadows movie, playing this like rock hard car thief on knocking people out.
Completely.
Now I'm going to play the guy who shits his pants. Where it's, not quite Adidas rip-off sweatpants.
It is a mad one, because that character, I feel like you play it so well, and I saw it not too long ago. Again, like I've seen it so many times, but it's one of those performances. I remember watching it when I was kind of, I wanted to be an actor, and that was like one of the performances I was like, holy shit, I want to do that. But watching it again now, I'm like, it completely holds up to what I remembered when I first watched it. And it's just, like, as you said, I don't know if that would happen now. Like, they would probably cast someone with a disability, or there would be a different way around it. I don't know, but it just shows you, I mean, it worked really well. And it's become one of those films that people go back to.
Yeah, and I specifically because I don't know that Shane would put that amount of strain on someone with disability, because it's a massive pressure. A working day on set is 12 hours. A regular human being with probable mental illness is the only person who's likely to do it. So it's a massive amount of work. Now, that's the thing I learned straight away, was like, fucking hell, we're still here. We're still eating triangle sandwiches. Like, what are we doing here? So there's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of like waiting for the right light. And in the old days on film, you're just waiting for light, and especially if you're outdoors. So I get why films become big budget, because they don't want to wait, but they still wait. Because then you've got to rig those lights, and then someone turns and suddenly they've got a big black line down the face, and they go, oh, that's not helpful. I've got to move.
Yeah.
So, there's no real secret to it. There's just effort. It's just that effort and, life. Because if I hadn't been taken to the horribly named back in 1984, when I was taken, my mother was a very hardworking woman, but she also did things for the Blind Society and what was formerly known as Marie Curie now, I hope it's called it. I'm getting it right, but it was the Spastic Society.
Well, it was actually called that.
It was actually called that, brother. Yeah.
Wow.
That was Yeah, things have thankfully changed. Yeah. But that was where we would go. And bear in mind, we were a family of 4 and then turned into 5 when we had my little sister. We used to get Red Cross cheese. So the Red Cross, very sweet, they would give you eggs, milk, and cheese if you earned us under a certain amount. But my mother, still with all of that, would still go and make a cake for the women who worked down at the society, and still go to the Blind Society and take them to things. Because for my mum, actually, what's very sweet about her is it was her way of going to see a play. I know I don't want to diminish what she did, because what she did was beautiful. But as I look at it, I realised, oh, my mum went to go and see all these plays with the Blind Society. Actually, she got to go and do a thing. So there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be completely selfless. If it's a need you have, get your need met. Find a way to get your need met. Now, if you can afford to go to a play, you can pay for your ticket. But if you can't, and you're helping other people, that's a beautiful thing. But she also got things that no one else would get, because my mum came with them to see me in a play, Journey's End. And they come on stage and they get to like touch your uniform, and they get to touch your face and your hat and your hair, and they get to meet the actors. So my mum was such a fan of it. Like, she still giggles with like a glee at like, oh, you're acting, you know, like there's still this like, oh, because she wanted to do it. I know she did, but she had terrible stage fright, terrible. Could not get the courage. Not, I mean, courage sounds like you're lacking something. Couldn't get out of her own way to go and stand there and be judged, because that's how she'd set it up. These people are judging you. Judge your abilities. And that was too much for her. And if she had had a Ray Dix who had said, this is effort, and it's selfish of you to hide that away, and you will go on 3,000 auditions and no one will call you. And by the way, you'll go and do Dead Man's Shoes and Control and RocknRolla and Open Can, and to be doing all these things and be having lunch with Madonna. And then you'll go and do a Jerry Bruckheimer movie, right? With Jake, and it's gonna, you know, Mike Newell, and something wasn't right and something didn't work, and it didn't box office. Don't worry about it. Very loving, brother. The kindness I received from Jerry Bruckheimer then brings me to New York, and I do Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage, right? Nicolas Cage. I'm working with Doc Ock. I'm working with these phenomenal bit driving Ferraris through Times Square. It didn't work. Now I'm not being called at all.
Really? That
Not at all. My agent had no auditions available, because you've gone into, and I think about it and I wonder, it's not like I was a big movie star and I fell off. I think it's because I'd started to go to big blockbusters. So they think, well, we're not going to be able to afford him for a low budget. So you really have to like struggle, and you have to go, no, I'll do anything. And then you have to like really like do anything and be willing to do anything. If you're in a position where you're being offered something, do it. It might be the best thing ever. They might teach you how to horse ride. You never know.
Yeah, because every actor pretends they can do it, but to actually learn would be great for a job. That blows my mind, man. Because like, you've done some huge films, and it's crazy that you can have such a run, and then people are like, "Oh, do you know what I mean?" Like, there's no audition.
It's the worst thing, because I've just, I remember the fib I've been telling that, oh, I don't want to do this. This is bullshit. And all these people giving their energy, their life, their effort to help me, to motivate me, to go and have a go, you prat. And then, oh, I'm on the side of a bus for G-Star. I'm on the side of a bus for RocknRolla. I'm shooting a Jerry Bruckheimer movie with Mike Newell, who did Donnie Brasco. Right? With the dude from Donnie Darko. I'm doing my friend Joel called me. You're on the side, 3 buses went by, you're on 2 of them. This is happening. I'm a bottle of Coca-Cola, I'm going into meetings like I've got a brand name, like I'm somebody. And then 2 box office flops are like, oh, he's not the one. Oh God, he's box office poison.
That is mad. What's that like? I mean, because obviously being an actor is such a, being out of work or trying to get auditions. There's a lot of, it's like mental health overload. If if you think about what people think of you too much, or you're overthinking it all. What is it like when you've had such a high and then it's followed by something like that? How do you cope with that?
It's when you realize you heard words of wisdom. I didn't hear them at the time and think, okay, brilliant, that's how I'm going to live my life. Did I bollocks? I had to go through that mess and feel like I've embarrassed myself. What have I done here? I've embarrassed myself, and realize what was being said, that you have to have a full life. So I started to fill up my life again and focus on my life. And once my life was full again, and I was enjoying things, which is a struggle, which is a year's pattern of changing things, which is a year of like not brushing your hair to perfection and putting on the right clothes to go to this fucking Tesco because I'm important now, is realizing that no one fucking cares, but the people who do care because you touched them with a performance that was magic, if you're lucky enough to have done that. So it's why when I was telling that kid, look, man, these looks and lights is leading you to that place, which just feels like it. And really, that's not the truth. Your goal is to do a performance you're proud of. It's not to disrupt everyone else's film and go, guys, I feel like my hair was in my way then for your one line, but it's to give it the best effort. And when you go for the audition, do it like you're filming it that day and do all of those things, because ultimately that stuff will go nowhere. It take you nowhere. You can get a nicer car, but having driven a Ferrari through Times Square at 120 miles an hour, what's the point?
Really beat that.
I'm never going to be able to beat that. Who's going to police escort me through Times Square? It's not going to happen. So there are nice cars, fit and finishes are nice, you know, nice clothes are nice restaurants are nice. But if you're honest, accomplishment's nice. Life's nice, and helping other people's nice. Working for mental health institutions, going and sitting and talking about your mental health, getting therapy and not thinking it means you've failed somehow, but that you're actually on the path to succeeding, and realizing that things take time and it's effort. That's the path. It's effort. Going down to the gym, the boxing gym, and having them call you Hollywood and realizing that they weren't doing it to mock you. It's their way of saying, oh man, I don't know how you do that. And that's what ends up coming out. You can start to hear people's real thoughts. They're like, I don't know how you do that, man. Walking down the red carpet. I took a bunch of my friends from back home to a red carpet, the Prince of Persia. I took my mum, and they were all just like, that is fucking horrible. It's like abuse.
Yeah.
Tony! You're like, my name's Toby, man.
Does that actually happen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I get called Tony more than I get called Toby, which is great, because the worst part is my name's Tobias, so that's the fucking worst part. I grew up poor with the name of Little Lord Fauntleroy, and then, became well off and get called Tony. It's fucking magic.
That's brilliant.
Tony fans.
I love you.
Tony! T-O-B-Y, Tony. What drew me was flying to Hawaii, Australia, Vietnam, hanging out with Sam Jackson, so, you know.
I was going to say, it must be an amazing cast, but to Sam Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, everything, that must have been great as well.
Yeah, he calls me Tony as well, but, you know, at least I got to hang out with him, you know what I mean, for a minute.
We'll have to put Tony on the interview and put it up, Tony Kebbell.
Tony Kebbell.
Bring it in. No rules. It's over when a man says no more.
This film, Salvable, this is like an actor's dream. That kind of role, the underdog, it's a boxing movie. Was there, I imagine there's a lot of preparation for something like this.
There was a lot of prep for me. First of all, when they sent the script, I thought, I don't know, man, a boxing film. I didn't really give it the credence it deserved. I read through it and I thought, I don't know, like a down and out boxing film, like an English Rocky. I was like, I don't think so. And then, you know, I just had a kid at the time and I was running around after her. She gets more mobile. You realize how old and unfit you are. And I thought, fucking hell, maybe there's something I'm missing about this script. So I went back and looked at it. And Bjorn and Johnny, actually Bjorn called and said, look, we have another look at it, please, because we might be able to get financing and it might be able to go. Because at first it was just like, read for interest. So it just so happened that at that time, as I said, I was exhausted from running around after a kid. And I gave it a different look, and I thought, fucking hell, man, just getting in shape at this age would be brutal. So we went through it in a different way, and I started to discuss it with them, like, this is how I see it, and this is the thing. So, and they were very open, you know, and a first-time director can sometimes be very precious, right? Because they wrote it. They've spent hours and hours and hours, years possibly, writing this thing, thinking about it, pondering it, wondering about it. But they were very open to that kind of ability to end up doing improv and things like that. So yeah, just even getting the script off the ground was a massive amount of preparation. Then along comes the job, and I start to get fit, and I thought, he can't be shredded. You can't have a down and out dude who's shredded, because why is he down and out? Like, he could go and, you know, do a chip shop ad if he wanted, you know, whatever it is, he could do something a little bit better that shows a confidence that wasn't really present. So my dear friend Joel Morris, who's a wonderful actor, from Nottingham also, and I said, mate, I need you to come down, because if I can eat with anyone, it's Joel Morris. Joel's like, he's like a food connoisseur, but he loves the junk food, you know, like he loves absolutely slobbering, disgusting food also. And you only have certain friends, right? There's certain friends who are like, they want to go out and have nice dinners, and it's a bit pompous. But Joel, you could just eat fish and chips 9 times a week, and it'd be like, this is great, mate. Every time you eat it, it's like there's a pleasure in it. So I promised that we would get fit also. So I said, you'll come, we'll get fit, but we've got to remain, you know, like bags of milk. We've got to look like bags of milk. So yeah, just the prep of the script, working out, it's a lot. But, you know, you're an actor, so you know there's always that prep. But you want the authenticity, and it's really hard, because then we get Carl Froch involved, who's also from Nottingham, went to the same school I did, was a few years above. I'm being polite about his age. He was a few years above me, and he has a brother who's a blue collar fighter, which means it's not really necessary. You have to go through the licenses to get everything. And the first thing he said was like, you don't know like you're hard, you don't look like a fighter. Thanks, mate, I appreciate that. The boost of confidence every actor needs before they start a job. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of prep, as you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I mean, the boxing alone. Sometimes when you watch a boxing movie, you watch them box and you think, okay, but like completely sold it, man. Did you have any prior experience to doing this?
I'd done a film with Gary Stretch, and I owe a lot of my skill and ability to Gary, because Gary saw that I could box, and he saw that I'd done little bits. Oh, by the way, if I go back and I'm being polite and kind, which I should be always, I did a TV show called Windows of the Soul. It was a show called Commander. Brilliant show with Amanda, and just, they were lovely people, and they got me boxing on camera. So I learned a lot about on-camera boxing that's very different from boxing, which is the simplest way to put it is, a boxer will do 12 rounds if it's a hard fight. They're 3-minute rounds. Whereas you as the actor, from 7 a.m. until lunchtime, will be doing that scene continuously over and over. You'll do 24 fights in a day. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of energy you have to put in, and everything's pulled. And there's something about, you know, no one believes you're a boxer, so you're like, oh, I want to hit something really hard to prove I can make noise. But you have to pull everything and be extra gentle. And the person you're fighting against, you have to be extra sensitive to their, like, fatigue at being pretend punched and flicking their head back 300 times. So, yeah, Gary really, going back to that, Gary Stretch taught me a great deal, because when you meet a professional, the difference is like watching, you know, a game of football on the park versus, you know, a Premier League game. I mean, it's such a massive jump. And then, you know, taking me to blue collar fights and having me walk into the ring and doing 3 2-minute rounds and having all that kind of stuff reminiscent of like stuff I'd done as an amateur. And you just realize that, man, the leap is so massive. It's so huge. So yeah, I owe a great deal to Gary. And then on this film, I owe a great deal to the boys down at Penarth ABC, Neil, who ran ABC Penarth, which is just a wonderful facility. It's an old-fashioned hard man Jim. You know, there's nothing fancy about it, but there's a lot of care and attention to detail. And that's the sort of nourishment you need when you're going out there to expose yourself. Especially, you're not going to look sexy, you know, you've got to take your shirt off and you look like, you know, a bag of milk.
You looked massive in this, though. You looked like, because I look back at like RocknRolla and things like that. That's obviously a completely different role, but like you looked legit heavier, much heavier. It looked like it must have taken some time to get that weight on.
That weight was another thing. So there's an old film, beautiful old film that I like because it's Errol Flynn not really being like dashing pirate, and it's Gentleman Jim.
Yes.
And every time you see the guys he fights, they look like those old bare knuckle fighters, and we all wanted that physique, that kind of style of it. Like those guys who you see milling around and you don't take any notice of them. They wouldn't be an attention grabber. They're not in phenomenal shape, but they are strong. And when you see them down the gym, I mean, any gym you go to, any good gym, they'll have a version of that human being who hits the bag, is just like, and the bag's just going, and moving. You've never seen a heavy bag move. And so it was that was the aspiration. That was the goal. It wasn't to be Brad Pitt in Snatch, which is awesome in its own right, of course. But it was more like that authenticity. How does he live in a caravan in a field? How is he not doing well? How can he not communicate with his wife? Why is he hanging around with that lad who's clearly going to get him into trouble? There's mischief in Shia's eye the second he turns up, you know, that's wonderful that he brought to it. So, yeah, it is exactly an actor's dream, that kind of immersing yourself and pretend. It's terrible for your wife and your kid, though, you know, like you're at home.
Yeah.
You're mashed chip sandwiches, and I'm like, what are you doing to yourself? How are you going to go? My wife kept saying, how are you going to get that off? I was like, be all right, be all right. I couldn't shift it for a year.
Really? But that's the thing people don't talk about, is the aftermath of that.
Yeah, because I think these days everyone knows that you could use clenbuterol and risk getting arrested and use some ridiculously horrible things for your body. But there's no far-sightedness in that. And I always like to try and do it. If I've done it the hard way first, which is the easy way, but eating. Also to mention, I mean, man, when I was a dude wishing I was an actor, I watched Chopper. And I couldn't believe what he had done to himself. I mean, everyone talks about Raging Bull, which is phenomenal, no doubt. But in the modern era, for a young actor, watching Eric Bana turn into Chopper, man, and the charisma. I mean, I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that. I mean, anybody I could meet. A friend of mine, Tim Smith, had introduced me to it. We sat around. His mate had been to America, and he got Baby Ruth bars and all these snacks. So it was quite a menagerie of new things. I was like, what's going on over here? And they put Chopper on. Have you seen Chopper? Have you seen Chopper? You know, and you see that excitement in other film lovers. You're like, go on then, what's this film? Blew me away. So yeah, there was all those aspirations.
Yeah. We had Eric Bana on here, and
did you?
Yeah. As you say, that part was actually the role that kind of introduced me to him. So I was like, oh well, that's Eric Bana. And then you see him afterwards in other things, and you're like, holy shit, he put on so much weight for that. It's crazy.
And he's such clearly a fit, agile human being. Turns up in King Arthur and whatever he does. But it's one of those, it's like a gift and a curse, isn't it? Because it's like Withnell. I love Richard E. Grant. Whenever I watch him in something, I think he's brilliant. But to watch him in Withnell, you think, oh, how did he do that?
Insane.
I've only had a few ales, like just little bits. You're just like, fucking hell.
So good.
So good. So good. Yeah.
So it's quotable as well.
So quotable.
Was it when they were in the bedroom and just hear in the next room, he's like, he's in your room.
He's going to your room. It's you he wants. Offer him yourself.
I love that film.
Yeah, so good, mate. Yeah, it's so good. So it's performances like that as a young actor, you're just watching going, fucking, how did they do that? How did they fathom that human being? And it's so good. Do you think they're just playing that? I mean, it's actually a compliment that I didn't realize was a compliment so many times I've been told, where they're like, it's just playing yourself. And I didn't realize it was a compliment. I got all offended. I was like, fucking hell, I put hours of work into that, you know, and I'm thinking, getting all traumatized by this statement. But actually, you realize when you watch that, you could happily sit there ignorantly and say, that's Eric Banner's just playing himself, isn't it? He's got a bit fat, didn't he?
There'll always be someone that thinks that. You can't, yeah, you literally can't control it. It's mental.
So why bother? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, but to go back to this movie, it has so many different like sections to it that I didn't expect. You know, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. But there's that lovely dynamic with you and your daughter, and then your ex-wife, and the arguments you have with her. I'm like, oh my God, they're really well written to the point where I was like, God, I can imagine like just having this circular argument. You know, it's like that all
Yeah.
those relationships are brilliant. And was that something that just had a kid, obviously, and did that draw you in, that relationship with the daughter in the film?
Yeah, that was my main focus. So the boxing thing was obviously the cool fun bit, but I recognized very quickly that great boxing films are about the tireless edit that they have to put in. And I think once we all realized that, and we had a phenomenal DP, a young man named Simon, and he was just doing excellent work. And I realized that really this is just nuggets for us to realize the type of person he is. Because the type of person who is willing to still get up and go for a run, to go down, because he might just have a shot. It's very reminiscent of I'm sure, friends of yours who are older, who are still trying to act. And it's that thing of just like, there's that one dream you had and you think, oh man, it would be so great to just step out and do it right just one time. Just do it as well as Charlie Chaplin did it for our gig. And then, you know, Muhammad Ali or any of the greats, Duran, any of the brilliant fighters from whenever. And so it's just that. Who is willing to stay that discipline? Because it takes a monstrous discipline. It just takes massive discipline. And of course, there's a discipline of eating, but just that discipline to keep going and punish yourself, because being hit by a professional is otherworldly. You realize, man, fuck, there's a genetic element to this.
Yeah.
That's not just training and working out. So to focus on the daughter, which is the selfish, greedy part of acting that you can do in the quiet, of figuring out what is it that's trying to be said here? Because the writing was so good, and there were little bits where we just managed to nudge it in one direction or the other by saying, this is really, if we think about this, this is what he wished he had said when he goes to the school, when he's talking to her. It's really a position of like, what if he says to her now something he already had said? Like his wish for being the boxer manages to manifest like right now, to be that honest and say to her, I had no clue how to accept that amount of love. And I figured that was him. And once, I know it sounds silly, but I often hear actors say it, and I always thought it was a bit whimsical and a bit artsy fartsy, but you really can, you know, hang a coat on that kind of hook where you think, oh man, he's kind of working to that point. He's working out why he can't communicate with his wife, because he clearly loves her. I mean, in those arguments, you see they're visceral and they're fun to say, but really there's little bits like, you can't give me any help. Just that little bit, and you realize, her whole speech is just to get that one line out authentically. If you can authentically say, well, you can't give me any help, you realize what he's actually saying the whole time, the subcontext. And I think I'm learning that as I get older, and I think having a child who can't communicate, it's all body language for so many months and eventually a year, that you really tune in. I mean, my daughter would turn up to other people and say whatever goobly-gook she was trying to say, and I knew exactly what it was. I was like, oh, she's asking for water. And you tune your ear in. So it was that kind of thing. It was, it was finding the thing to be able to go, oh, that's what he's trying to get to here. That's what he's trying to get to here. And it does actually alleviate something. It alleviates your ability to be way more whimsical and say silly things like, call the cops, go on, call them, I'll wait. You know, which it's fun to say, it's boastful, but he's clearly not going to do that. That's not where he's at, you know.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing about the character as well. He makes a lot of mistakes, and he does things that you think, well, that wasn't the right thing to do, but you can see why he's been pushed into those things, and it's the frustration, and it was just very well played out in the way that you just believed the situation. I don't want to give away, for people that haven't seen it, I don't want to say too much about what goes on towards the end of the film, but it's so important, I think, with films like this to believe that the character would actually make a decision, or he would be like, okay, I need to do this because of, and I just thought the way that it capped off and the end was just, it was brilliant, and it was heartbreaking, and like, you're just like, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, I just thought it was very well done.
I mean, also saying not giving too much away, but that again was just that thing, like, when your mate says, let's go and throw rocks at cars. That's the stupidest thing you've ever heard. And you think, oh, if it's just little pebbles, maybe it'll just ping off and then we can run off, and that'll be the bit that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the excitement or the payoff. And I think that was the great thing that Shia brought to it, is he has this beautiful mischievous quality. Sort of always think, oh, he's up, it's fun. It seems fun with him. It doesn't seem like, oh, he's up to no good, man. Oh, this is going to be terrible. Okay, now this is going to be so bad. It always like, yeah, this might be all right. And then you've drank 8 pints and you've had 3 kebabs and you don't know why you're getting sick. You're like, someone spiked my drinks, mate. Someone spiked my drinks.
Yeah, you're so right though. That relationship between those two characters is, yeah, he's one of those guys you think he is bad news, but there's a glint in his eye. There's something about him. He's not, he's charismatic. He's not a potato.
Right.
I can see why you would.
There's fun to the mischief.
Yeah, exactly.
Friends like that are dangerous. Friends like that are the tricky ones that you hope grow up, that you hope get mature. But yeah, he played it just perfect, because it's very hard, because most people were coming in and talking about how tough they were, as if we were doing a show about tough people, and that was totally the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And Shia's take was always just the mischievous nature of getting up to no good. The joy in it, the sheer pleasure. It's the lack of forethought. It's just the lack of consequence. Like, fuck, it'll be all right, fuck it. And those people, you're always like, oh, it won't be all right, will it? Oh, no. So, yeah. That's good. I'm glad it came out.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And what you just said there just kind of triggered what I was thinking. In one of the scenes, his character kind of comes across like he's going to be, aggressive, the alpha male and all that stuff. But actually, there's moments in the performance where it's like, oh no, he's standing down. He's not completely reckless or stupid, or he's not trying to be like the big man. So it's same with your character as well. You kind of there's holes in the character where you're like, oh, he's vulnerable. Like, he is vulnerable. They all are. They're just in a situation they can't get out of.
Right. They just grew up. They just got older. Nothing really, well, grew up's probably the wrong thing, because that's a sign of maturity, but they just got older. They're the same people. And for some reason, they just couldn't catch on to responsibility. And it was such a conundrum, because it's like, a guy will go to a fight. He can't just get his bills in order. He can't get his bit of housing. And you realize how easy it is to let things slip. Just the ignoring it, the burying your head in the sand, because boxing can be a great, head burying place. Because there you've got a respect, there you've got like a prowess, there you've got a group of people, like-minded people who agree with things you say. It's kind of a hideaway. If you're not really going to become a pro, it's a great hideaway. And then it's a great thing to sit down and say in the pub, that, oh, yeah, he boxes. And you've got that prowess, you've got that badge. It's very rare people want to know, like, what your title is, what how many fights you've had, what your count is. Because especially when you talk to professionals, nobody talks about the hundreds, possibly, of amateur fights.
Yeah.
And amateur fights are the worst. Amateur fights are where you go into the same changing room as the guy you're going to fight. And he might be doing an interview with the local news and getting his hair brushed. And you think, oh, now. Now, and it's just, it's psychological torture, but no one talks about those. And there's hundreds of them. And there's journeyman boxers. There are lifetime guys who are used to build records.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they'll get upset if you knock them out. Gary had a beautiful story. One of the guys was so upset he got knocked out, because then he's got to go and get medical. Then he can't fight for 6 weeks, and he's got all these loopholes to get through to get back to the thing that's giving him bread and butter. It's beer money.
Yeah.
You know, it's £150, but it's £150 cash, and he's going to go out and, you know, he's got a job. He works at Boots in the factory. You know, he's got a job, but now you've taken away his cash for 6 weeks. You know, and that's what he lives off of. So there's so many like beautiful tales within that realm.
You're a fool. That's who you are. We used to run this town. Take all we can get.
It's fascinating to have worked with first-time directors, pretty much, you know, done some work, but they were really striving for something with a little bit of perfection in it, with a little bit of, you know.
Oh, it's an incredible debut, like, you know, their debut feature. That's incredible. And the reason I, you know, got in touch, I know Connor, the producer, and Jamie, and they've been talking about this film for ages. And when you got attached to the project, they were so excited. And do you get sent a lot of scripts, and you have to kind of, I guess you have to weigh it up. And when it comes to like a first-time director, that can be, I guess, a bit of a risk. But the fact that you've done this film and it's come out so well, what is the calculation there as someone that can, you know, you've done a lot of great big films, to go back and do a film like this with a lower budget, with, you know, first-time directors? Is this kind of like, you know, one of those projects you can really put your passion into?
It is, yeah. I mean, the question of how can you make that decision? Yes, the answer is yes. You do, if you're lucky, get sent a lot of scripts. And mainly they are low budget, because it's, what I love about first-time filmmakers is they've got this nerve that goes a really long way. Okay, I'm just going to send it to Russell Crowe. And you might as well, by the way. You might as well, because, I mean, send it to his agents. Don't bother him at his house, but send it to his agents. Because the truth is, you don't know what that actor's going to read in your project and think, oh, this is interesting. Now, of course, so many factors have to happen. Has to have a team of people who can get finance. It has to have the right questions answered. So you do have to do a lot of work. And as you get older, you realize that it's called show business for a reason. And learning the business is actually really helpful. But learning only one or the other, you'll probably only just get by. It's a little bit arduous and boring and technical, and it's not really who I am. I'm not a very academic human being. I study what I enjoy to study, but studying what I don't enjoy is hard. And I think the business element of it is tough. But you do have to realize that if they answer questions to a certain degree, the correct way, you realize, okay, this could actually be something authentic. These people have a similar passion. Can I see some of the DP's work? Oh, it's beautiful work. Oh, he works with light really well. Can I see some of the other people you're thinking about for cast? Oh, she's fantastic. Now, we got very lucky. The woman who plays my wife and the girl who plays my daughter, they're mother and daughter for real.
I was thinking they looked, I was like, that's amazing casting. They look so related.
They're such a beautiful family. The dad's like one of my favorite people. They're such a lovely family. And what was great is when we saw the daughter and the gent showed me her audition, I said, oh man, she's great. She's got a real like vigor to her. She's got like a real like, she's not just, I don't care. There's not like a violent aggression. She understood really well the kind of like I've got a lot of power if I dismiss who you are. And she gathered that really well. And then when I was going through it and I was talking to my dear friend Barry Ward, who plays the gypsy in the sheepskin coat. Yeah. Wonderful human being. Like truly one of my favorite human beings on earth. Been dear friends, best friends for a really long time. And he said, God, that's wild. She's got the same name as an Irish actress. So I did a little research, and it turns out mother was an actress. And I was like, fucking hell, lads. And Bjorn was like, I know. We're trying. So I was watching her work, and I was like, man, I'm a big fan of her. She's great. And I always think there's something happens when one of the parents turns up and they look really like the kid in a mannerism, in a movement, in a look or a smile. Something's sold again. And the more you can sell, that's the more people then go, oh, wow, this feels like a little mockumentary kind of deal. it's so accurate and authentic is the goal. So yeah, we were very lucky with that.
Most embarrassing moments,
I have a multitude. I'm a big foot in mouth person, but I'll tell you, I sat with nameless, because it's embarrassing for me, and also they'll be like, what? But I sat with really high up execs at Warner Brothers at the time, and execs move all the time, so these guys aren't there. No, they're not there anymore. And I'm sitting, and you know, our American cousins are different people. They're different in the way they speak and do things. And they were talking about somebody, and they were like, "Oh, I heard he's like an ass. I heard he's an asshole." And I was like, "Yeah, he's a fucking cunt." And I know even on here you'll have to beep it, the C word, rightly so. The interview stopped within 35 seconds. The word was like I had pooed in their drinks. It was so bad. I was just like, oh no. What?
Not like in England. It's very, there's a bit different.
And I'd heard it and I kind of knew it, but it wasn't really 100% true. And also I was English, so there was like a charm when I did it. But in a business meeting where they're pretending to be your friend because you've made money for the studio, it's not real. They're not. Be more polite. They don't really want to get to know the real you. They don't really care where you came from. They want to know you can keep making money and be a business person. So that's my advice for that. Always remember business prowess. Don't ever be like, yeah. Terrible.
Don't use the word in front of Americans, especially in a meeting.
Especially in a meeting at Warner Brothers. 30 seconds, that meeting was over and done, and they suddenly had places to be, and that was that.
Oh, I bet you were kind of just sitting there like, oh no.
I sat in my car for a long. The security guard came over and he went, "Hey, we need this space, buddy," and like asked me to leave. I was like,
"No,
hi, mate, just give me a second, will you? Give me a second off." Oh, yeah. Oh man, fucking Mount Central. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just want to say as well, one last thing, that RocknRolla, when that came out, it must have been what, 2007, 2008, and that was the year that I got my first acting job. And I remember watching that film in the cinema, and your performance was just, and I remember thinking, even though I'd seen Dead Man's Shoes, and I kind of was aware that it was the same actor.
Yeah.
And I remember that was when I kind of started looking into actors and what they were doing, and I remember thinking, he's got proper thin for this. And like, I just remember watching it thinking, fuck, that is amazing. That was one of the roles that I was like, that's a transformation thing. That's something that I want to do. And it really influenced me. I did a film called Northern Soul, which came out in 2014. And that, your performance in that, I was like, I need to do what he did. I need to lose the weight. I had to look like a dancer that was on speed and everything else. And I lost a load of weight for it. Probably very dangerously, not in a good way.
Yeah. No, it's dangerous for everybody, man. No, yeah, but it's just like high aerobic, minimal food. That's the only way.
Is that what you did? I was going to ask, what was the...
Yeah. I set myself 2 meals. I used to have a banana that was 25 grams of oats and half a banana. And that was, if I was starving in the morning, I'd have that. And then in the evening or throughout the day, if I was starving, I'd have a pepper and I'd cut it in half and I'd have a can of tuna in it. No oil, no salt, because it all just retains water. So I just raw tuna, a bit of pepper. It was rotten. It was rotten. I looked ill. In real life, I looked ill. I didn't look well.
Well, that's the thing.
A lot of people,
it puts weight on, doesn't it? The camera as well. So
it does, mate. Yeah, and striation makes you look more muscled.
Yeah.
So yeah, I looked emaciated. Yeah.
I want to shout out your performance in Planet of the Apes, though. Brilliant. And the whole motion capture thing, you've just done so many different things in performance that it's...
Andy Serkis went in for an audition with Andy, and he was just so kind and so sweet. And I was just like, you know, man, you played 2 of my childhood heroes. You know, like, his Captain Haddock is phenomenal. Like, I couldn't believe that Captain Haddock came out so well. I didn't care how Tintin was going to be, but Captain Haddock came out. I was like, fucking hell, he nailed it.
It's not what I thought you were going to say, but yeah.
I know. It's not that. And that's probably not what he thought I was going to say.
I love
it. But just to sneak it in the end, I was like, man, this was a pleasure. What a fantastic day. And I just want to say, like, your Captain Haddock was just flawless. You nailed Haddock, mate. You did it so well. So yeah, another person who cared enough.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, Click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Toby, thank you to producers Connor and Jamie, Emma at Strike Media, and as always, thank you to our sponsors, movieposters.com and BetterHelp.